Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Monday, February 27th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack, ready to break down the Monday slate. We are 2 days away from, the month of March, the penultimate month of the college basketball season, the most exciting month of the college basketball season. And we've already got conference tournament action starting, at least in the Atlantic Sun, tonight. So that time of year is upon us, where we're going to be starting to see some of these mid-major conference teams punch their ticket to the big dance as well. So looking forward to this Monday card. We will start with one of the big matchups here on television, ACC, North Carolina, who got themselves a much-needed win on Saturday night against Virginia to keep their tournament hopes at least somewhat alive. They can't rest on their laurels, though. They can't be blowing this game. They need this win just as badly. They're laying 8 here on the road in Tallahassee against Florida State. The total opened 152. It's up to 155. And look, it's hard not to disagree with that when you look at it. Hard not to agree, I should say, with that. You look at the way Florida State played on Saturday. I'll tell you what, that was an incredible comeback. I think Miami pretty much fell asleep, to be honest with you, down the stretch of that game. But at the same point, you got to give Florida State credit. They never quit, and they pulled off a miraculous come-from-behind victory against Miami. Does that propel them into tonight, or is it a letdown? What's it going to be? I don't think there should be a letdown for North Carolina. Normally, you would think so, off a big win against Virginia and the fact they play Duke coming up in their regular season finale on Saturday. But they can't afford to slip up here. If they were to lose this game, it could be a devastating blow to the whatever NCAA tournament hopes that North Carolina has right now. And I don't know if I trust Florida State defensively either. So this is a really tough game. I don't want Florida State after their win, which was a miracle win, but I don't want to lay 8 either with North Carolina coming off the Virginia game. And now laying points like this on the road is not something I'm comfortable doing with the Tar Heels. But I do agree with the total move. So if anything, I would play the over here. What do you think here, Conor? North Carolina, Florida State.
Yeah, that was a good rally for North Carolina. And then the Florida State, I mean, just getting their ass whipped. And Miami just falls asleep, thinks they're still going to win by 2, and drills that shot. That was wild. I can't take North Carolina. This is a win game. They should win. But do you want to cover the number? I just wouldn't fool with it. Because they just got to get in and get out. They haven't won since in Florida State in about 5 or 6 years. The home team's been very good in the series. Florida State's defense is great. The total is moving up. It still could get over. North Carolina doesn't shoot it well enough for them to lay points on the road. They have the talent. They have the size. They should have the rebounding advantage in this game. I just can't do it. So this to me is a pass. I don't want anything to do with it. If I had a free bet, I'd take Florida State, but they've been, hit and miss.
Putting it mildly, no question about that. They have. All right. Next up here as we continue along on this Monday college basketball slate. And by the way, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button.
Shout out to Mikey
very much.
Our new member. Real quick.
Absolutely. We appreciate the new members coming on board. Idaho State, Northern Colorado. The Bears, 5.5-point home favorites, 147 being the total here in this game. Northern Colorado, I like them a little bit here as a short home favorite. I think they get the job done. I don't really trust Idaho State here on the road. 4-11 straight up this year on the road is this Idaho State team. They've been definitely a team that's had some issues. They've lost and failed to cover in back-to-back road games coming into this one. I know Northern Colorado on a 3-game losing streak, but Northern Arizona's playing better. Eastern Washington is the number 1 team in the Big Sky. I think this is a good bounce-back type of situation here for Northern Colorado. They lost a tough one in overtime against Idaho State on New Year's Eve, but I think they've got the propensity here to get back in the win column here, Northern Colorado in this one, and I think they'll be able to get the job done. It is worth noting, too, going into this matchup that we've got. Certainly, I think that great 3-point shooting of Northern Colorado could end up being the difference maker for them against an Idaho State team that suddenly on the defensive end, we know Northern Colorado's had their issues defensively all year, but Idaho State lately has had some issues getting consistent stops at that end of the floor. So I do like the home favorite here a little bit in this one. And senior night too, Christopher, great point as well. Keep an eye on that. You're going to see a lot of these situations here. Final week now of the regular season for many of these conferences, the ones that aren't in the conference tournaments yet. So senior night can be a big deal depending on which team it is for these home teams in the final week. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, and if you want to look into it, those senior nights, just look at some of the teams.
Yeah.
Some of these teams,
Make sure
the
they have
older
seniors
teams.
on the team.
Yes,
Right.
that's just what I was gonna say.
Of course.
Some of all the big schools like Kentucky, they don't have any seniors, or they got one guy. It's been hanging around on the bench. But some of these small schools, they have a few guys. So take a look at that. I think it's a good bounce back here for Northern Colorado. I just really don't want to lay 5.5. Early on, Idaho State's a good over team. We know Northern Colorado. I think the line's decent. I lean over here. I didn't quite get there. I think there's points, especially with them at home. I think they easily get to 80. Idaho State's looked good though their last couple of games with a couple wins. So I stayed up, but I'd look at the over here if I had to, or maybe Northern Colorado team total.
All right. So a lean over or team total over for a Northern Colorado for Conor. All right. Weber State, Northern Arizona. Northern Arizona, 2-point home favorites, 136 and a half the total. Northern Arizona is one of those teams that later in the season they've started to pick up some steam, play a little bit better. They've won 2 straight coming into tonight. But Weber State's really played well. They've been a kind of a moneymaker for me. Of all the teams in the Big Sky, Weber State's been up there in terms of the teams that I've made the most money with. And look, this has been all Weber State against Northern Arizona. They've won and covered 6 straight meetings over Northern Arizona. That's the kind of series history. I'm not going against that. So, but it is, again, the home game type of finale deal again for Northern Arizona. They are playing a little bit better. I'd take Weber if I had to make a play, but I ended up passing in this one. What do you think here, C-Mac?
I would too. And I like how Northern Arizona's been playing. I've took them a couple times. They've got it done, and they've been good against the number. I think they're 16-8 against the spread. Now they're even the bucket. I don't trust them. I think Weaver can get it done as well. So I'd take them.
All right, we stay in the Big Sky. It's a Big Sky Monday night here. We've got Montana State and Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington 1.5-point home favorites, 144.5 being the total in this game. I like 2 plays here. I actually like the Bobcats here of Montana State. Look, really, these 2 teams are locked into their seeding for the Big Sky tournament. You got the number 1 seed, Eastern Washington, number 2, Montana State. But I think Montana State, I think they have more of a point to prove here, where Montana State's really had some tough games with Eastern Washington. They've had their struggles, but I think for Eastern Washington, this is more of a, let's get on to the conference tournament. Whereas I think for Montana State, hey, we need to beat these guys and get some confidence going into the conference tournament so that if we cross paths again, maybe we finally can show that, hey, we can compete and we can beat these guys. So this definitely feels like a spot play for Montana State, but I do like the Montana State side here, +2. Not to mention, they have been playing, obviously, very well. Danny Sprinkle's done a great job here as the head coach of this team. They're a very good offensive team. They're one of the few teams in this conference that can match Eastern Washington in terms of offensive capability. So, and after Eastern Washington lost that game on the weekend at Idaho State, that snapped that record that they were looking to get, that losing to Idaho State. So that really makes this game even less significant, I think, for the Eagles tonight. So I think Montana State can win this game. I'll take them plus the 1.5, plus the 2. I think the game can get over the total as well, 144.5. What do you think here, Connor?
I don't blame you in this game. It should be good because this opens 3 and it's come down. Eastern Washington always struggled against Montana State, beat them earlier in the year, 70-67 last month or 2 months ago. I'm going to stay off. I would take Eastern Washington. It means nothing really with both these teams, and they're both really, really good. But I just think they're the better team at home. But I don't like the line moving now. There's 1.5s, Babano now at a few spots. So, but I'd lay it with Eastern Washington, but I'm not going to get involved.
All right, next up, we continue along here.
Real quick.
Yeah.
2, they're 11-0 at home. That was another thing. It is kind of a walkthrough game. Maybe it means more to Montana State, like you were talking about. So, but that was the reason.
From what I've
Eastern.
read on this game, I gather it kind of feels that way. But again, they're a great team. They're the team to beat in the conference tournament coming up, and it still may not be easy, even if maybe Montana State on paper is more of the team that's interested in this game. But we'll have to wait and see how it plays out tonight. Next up, we've got Montana and Idaho. The Grizzlies 5-point road favorites, 136. The total here in this one. Montana. This is a team that's not been as good as they've been in the past, but there's no doubt they're playing great and probably their best basketball right here and right now. 6-1 straight up in their last 7 games. The only loss at the aforementioned Montana State Grizzlies, who are again one of the or Bobcats, I should say, one of the top teams here in the Big Sky. Idaho on the flip side, they've been awful in these last 3 games. Non-competitive, blowout losses to Northern Arizona by 22, Idaho State, who aren't very good, by 10, and then Weber State by 14. Kind of showing signs that they've let go of the rope. I mean, their offense has just gone smack dab into the wall here in their last 3 games. They haven't gotten beyond 55 points in their last 3 games. So, in this spot here with just how brutal things have gone for Idaho, I actually think the number's a little short for Montana. I think they can go in there and probably win and probably cover this number as well. So I like Montana a little bit here, -5. Idaho's just not in good form at all right now. What do you think here, C-Mac?
I'll be quick to Craig's thing. I have neutral on that game against Washington State, but
Yep.
I didn't look into the box score, so I have different numbers than you do there. Then, to me, this is Montana. I don't want anything to do with Idaho. They come up to play every once in a while at home. I just can't take them here. I think the Grizz are better. I'd lay the 5.
All right. Now about one of the better and bigger games tonight. West Virginia, Iowa State. Although both teams are struggling right now. Iowa State 4.5-point home favorites, 134 the total. You know what? If I'm going to come back to this tonight, and if this game ends up being Iowa State winning by 10 or 12 or 15, I'm going to come back and say to myself, what a dummy you are not taking Iowa State, because to me this looks dirt cheap to take the Cyclones. Hilton Coliseum, we know how good they've been at home, but home court hasn't even mattered for them lately. They haven't won anywhere lately, home or away. They have just really struggled, and offensively they've been brutal.
Can't break
Iowa
60.
State.
Shit.
Yeah. That's the problem. And you got to lay 4.5 with an offense that looks damn near broken in the last few games for Otzelberger's crew. It hasn't been very good. West Virginia, look, they took Kansas down to the wire on Saturday. Give them credit. And maybe, with that performance they had, they can cover this number and maybe threaten to win the game outright. But don't, underestimate what kind of tricky spot this is for West Virginia. You played your guts out against Kansas. You lost at down to the wire, and now you got to go on the road for a second straight game in 3 days. Now to Ames, Iowa. It's not a great spot for the Mountaineers either. So I'm off the game entirely. I kind of want to back Iowa State in this, backs against the wall spot. We know historically how strong they can be at Hilton. But boy, they're just not in the form I trust right now. And so I'm off the game. Yet if they win by 10 tonight, it wouldn't shock me. And if they win by 10 tonight, I'm going to be pissed because I should have, as I'll say, hey, I should have taken them. I want to take them. I lean hard to Iowa State, but I can't right now with that offense. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I get it. And West Virginia has been playing better and gave a great effort against Kansas on Saturday. But to me, I think this is it. You got to take Iowa State. If you have any belief in how good they are at home, and I've talked about it. To me, I don't know if you want to split this because they've just been better in the first half.
Yep.
And they've blown the leads at home the last 2, where they were up, 6 and 5 in the other, and they just fell apart and can't make a basket. I guess Grill's a go tonight from everything I see. He's been out, and he's been one of their better scorers. And with him out the last, month, they need him in to score. And I don't know how effective he will be with his back playing, but I think this is them or nothing in this game. I don't know if I want to split it or just go first half with Iowa State.
All right, another one in the Big 12 next up. Yeah, Iowa State, maybe you split it up if you like that side, first half full game. Next up, Baylor, Oklahoma State, another Big 12 matchup. We've got pretty much a pick 'em now in this game in Stillwater, 141.5 the total. Baylor was a road favorite, but there has been some money coming in on Oklahoma State. The last time I took Oklahoma State against one of the better teams in the Big 12 at home, they burned me when Kansas went in there and beat them. I don't want to go back to the well with that. I mean, and I don't like the form of Oklahoma State right now. They're struggling mightily. They've lost 4 in a row. They failed to cover in 4 straight. You know what they miss off, and they offensively they've had trouble scoring the last 2 games. They miss Avery Anderson. He's a double-digit scorer for them,
Yeah.
still out. But on the flip side, Baylor. There are concerns with Baylor. Like I think Baylor is the better team, but Keontae George is out with an ankle injury that takes out one of that triple threat, if you will, the 3-headed monster of George, Cryer, and Flagler. We've talked about them all year. But now you don't have George. That's one of your key cogs missing. Now can you go on the road, follow up a big win against Texas at home on Saturday, go on the road, get the job done? This is a Baylor team that is only 1-3 straight up ATS, their last 4 road games. Losses at Texas, at Kansas State without George. Kind of yeah, exactly, Craig. Not a great Baylor spot. But I don't love Oklahoma State's form at all. They haven't beaten anybody good in this conference lately, especially at home. The Kansas game was an opportunity for them. They failed. I'm not trying to pass a test with Oklahoma State tonight again after what I saw against Kansas. So this is a game where I'm totally off it. I have zero interest betting a side in this game. I think it's too tricky. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, the public this Baylor, look how cheap it is.
Yep.
It's come down. Let's just take them. You talked about George out on the flip side. Anderson, I think he's been too big with him, handling the ball and scoring. Even if he's just whatever he scores 13, it is his average. He can put up more. They miss him, especially when they don't have a ton of scores. But they are at home. I think they're desperate. Yeah, the total here, someone mentioned, it's come down. I think if you like Oklahoma State, which some of the bigger bets are on, you gotta like the under here. If you like Baylor, you like the over. You think they score? I mean, I would take Oklahoma State. It's just hard to trust them right here, Babano. So I'm agree with you. I just maybe bet this live, or just don't bet it.
All right, we've got Nevada and Wyoming in the Mountain West. Nevada laying points on the road, 138 the total. I don't want Wyoming. Okay, so right away I'll say this. If you bet the game, you bet Nevada, or you don't bet the game. I mean, I don't want to take Wyoming. Wyoming has had a dismal season, injuries, struggles. They haven't had EK all year. I mean, they've had guys in and out due to injury, and they've not been able to get any consistency or continuity. 0-3 straight up in ATS coming into this game. Team's going nowhere. I feel bad for my guy, Jeff Linder. He's a good coach. He's stuck with a team that's just had a nightmare year at 8-20. I don't want Wyoming here, but do you want to lay 5? And Nevada can't afford to lose this game. They're right on the friggin' bubble when it comes to.
They got to win this.
They can't afford. That's why there's no look ahead or flat spot. There shouldn't be, because if they have a flat spot tonight and lose this game, they probably are at the point. If they lose this game, the only friggin' way they're getting into the tournament is they win the Mountain West tournament coming up. That would be their only way. They get the automatic bid by winning the Mountain West tournament. So, to me, Nevada's got to get it. But this is the second road game in 4 days. They're not a team I trust laying points on the road. They barely beat Fresno State 60-56. I mean, barely getting the cover. And I mean, barely getting the cover in that game. And they were trailing at one point in the second half of that game. I just don't want to lay this many. I mean, if it was closer to a 1 or a 2 or a 3, maybe I bet Nevada, not at 5.5. And I don't want Wyoming. So nothing for me here other than maybe this game can stay under. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, the same number as Utah State. Yeah, they were kind of struggling. They pulled away and won by 10. Maybe that game's a little like this. It stayed under as well. Nevada's been just so good to me all year. 18-8 against the number. Good free throw shooting team if they got to cover it. But maybe like Troy just put in the chat, you just want to, or you mentioned Babana, you just take a money line just to get the win, because they got to win. Last 4 in, they really need it. And Wyoming obviously better at home, but you just can't take this team this year with all the shit that's gone on, with all their, everybody out. So it looks like Cowboys. When I see 5.5 at Bano, I'd be like, man, I'd like to grab this team. I can't do it.
All right, we got next up Sacramento State and Portland State. Back to the Big Sky. Portland State 3-point home favorites here, 143 being the total in this game. This is definitely going to be an interesting battle in terms of pace, because Portland State plays extremely fast, trending over, and kind of the other way with Sacramento State, kind of trending under. But it is worth noting, though, with this Sacramento State team, the comparable team is Eastern Washington. And in a game like that, a good offensive team and a team that will push pace. Eastern Washington scored 82 points. The game went over. So I actually think the over could be the bet here. I'm leaning that way. I don't want anything to do with the side. Sacramento State won at home, but this kind of been a home court dominated series. Portland State won and covered last year when they hosted Sacramento State. So I don't have a strong take on the side, but I think the game might get its way over the total. 143, reasonable number. What do you think here in this one, Conor Mack? Sac State, Portland State.
I kind of like Portland State. They're just different this year because normally I wouldn't want to lay even at home here, the 3.5. I agree with you. I wish this total was a little bit lower. Portland State has been good on the over, so I lean that way. Someone just mentioned again, yeah, it's senior night. Hey, Hunter Maldonado. I don't know, maybe they have one more senior for Wyoming. I mean, they're at home. Like I said, I'm sure they'll play tough. It's just, do they have the talent and to score?
All right, good stuff indeed. All right, we go to the last two games, by the way. We'll do both of these at once. The Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament begins tonight. It's the first conference to step into conference tournament season. The Atlantic Sun gets underway with first-round matchups tonight. The Florida Gulf Coast against Queens, and Bellarmine against North Florida. Man, these are the two games I'll probably be watching the most tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, because I watch the little conference tournaments over the regular season stuff. I get into this because these teams are playing for their seasons right now. The only hope any of these teams have of getting into the NCAA tournament is winning out and winning the conference tournaments. Let's start with Florida Gulf Coast and Queens. We have Queens 2-point home favorites, 152.5 the total in this game. I think this is a very close game. I think these two teams, there's not much separating them as far as I'm concerned. The Queens team has played pretty well considering it's their first year in Division I basketball. It'll be interesting to see how they fare here. They aren't a particularly big team, but and they've struggled at times, against the three-pointer. But boy, oh boy, I think when you look at this matchup here, Florida Gulf Coast, they took them down to the wire earlier this year against them in Queens. Florida Gulf Coast was able to score at will. I think this is a high-scoring game. I think Florida Gulf Coast has a real shot to go in there and win this game. I like them here getting 2, and I like the over even more at 152.5 in this game.
Yeah.
And then on the other game, quickly, I'm on Bellarmine there. I like Bellarmine as a dog. I think this North Florida team's been a little bit too flighty for my liking this year. Way too up and down, way too erratic. They do have a good home court. I will give them that. 11-2 this year at home. But Bellarmine's 10-7 against the number on the road. And I love the angle of these two teams just played a couple nights ago, and North Florida beat Bellarmine 79-67 rather in that game by 12. I like that angle where North Florida just beat Bellarmine on Friday night, and now Bellarmine comes into this game in the conference tournament. They're the team with the extra focus for this game where we got to make our adjustments. We've got to be better. And maybe North Florida's resting on their laurels like, hey, we won by 12. We're going to be able to just roll out there and repeat that here tonight. Not so fast. This Bellarmine team can be stingy defensively. They're well coached. I think they're going to be able to make some adjustments here. And I think there's a reason why North Florida opened at -4, and it's all the way down to 3, even 2.5. I think it's a revenge spot. I think Bellarmine's good enough to make adjustments. And I don't trust North Florida to beat the same team they just faced Friday 2 times in a row. That's difficult to do. I trust the prep of Bellarmine. I trust the adjustments of Bellarmine to be there tonight and give them a chance to, if not earn redemption and win the game, at least keep this tight, keep it a one-score game, one-possession game down to the wire. So I got in on Bellarmine +3.5. Went down to 3. There's even some 2.5s out there now, but I like the dog there, Bellarmine, the Knights, to get the job done. What do you think, Conor? Those two games, ASUN Conference Tournament, first round.
Yeah, let's do the North Florida Bellarmine. We see these back-to-backs. That's why this line went from 4 now down to 2.5. Especially in a day or two like this, you're going to see the money because it's just not easy. Yeah, they just won by 12. And could they win and cover here? Now, 3 or more, if you think you got a bargain, we're North Florida. I don't think there's a ton separating these two teams. North Florida can score a little bit more. Bellarmine is to the under. And this game, I like the under the other day, but man, this went over because North Florida scored. So if you like Bellarmine, I'd lean under, and it's come down. It opened at
And
142.
not many teams have shot that crazy good against Bellarmine's defense this year.
All year. That's why I liked it on Friday. So
Yeah.
I think this is, you got to lean under, and that's what they're doing here. Because yeah, that was one of the best shooting performances it's Bellarmine that have held teams, even really top teams, in the 60s, throughout the year. Big schools has Bellarmine. So yeah, that's the under for me. I didn't get it at 4, 3.5, but I think they're in it. That's where I look. And on the flip side, I look at Florida Gulf Coast as well. I think that's a high scoring game. It's interesting. Do they think, because this is a conference tourney, that's why this has come down a couple points? That's what I think, because with these two, there should be a ton of points, and nothing really separates these two teams as well. And Queens and Florida Gulf Coast. But if I don't want Queens even land the couple points, it'd be Florida Gulf Coast or just pass.
Yeah. Florida Gulf Coast and over. Bellarmine. I didn't bet the total in Bellarmine, but that's one where I could see it staying under, because Bellarmine I expect to be better defensively, maybe get their preferred pace, which is slow it down a little bit. So I'm on Bellarmine plus the points. I'm on FGCU plus the points, and I'm on the over in the FGCU Queens game. So those are my looks on the Atlantic Sun Conference tournament matchups. By the way, on the Net Profit Show, I will make a point of it when we do our first segment, which is game by game. I will put all the conference tournament games on that segment. I'll bump out some major conference games in the first segment, regular season games, so I can put some conference tournament games on instead, because I'm honestly more into the conference tournaments this week with the smaller conferences as opposed to the regular season shit with the bigger conferences. That's where my eyeballs are going to be. I'm tell you this right now. I'll be watching more Bellarmine, North Florida, and Florida Gulf Coast Queens tonight on my television. Then I'll watch Baylor and Oklahoma State, or North Carolina, Florida State. I guarantee it. I'll be watching more of those conference tournament games. Yeah. That's where it's at. That's where my heart and my passion is for college basketball this time of year. These small little schools that are battling their guts out in these conference tournaments to make a run and maybe steal a bid. Nothing better than that, at this time of year with these smaller conferences. All right, so let's go to Q&A, and if you've got them, send them in for the added board, the extra board. Conor, any games on the extra board, the added board that you like tonight?
Not a ton. I looked at Bethune-Cookman at 7.5. I don't know if I bet it. I think that just might be a little bit too much. I think Grambling is better, but I don't know about 7.5. You know what, Howard? I think can it get over 158? There'll be a ton of points. One thing, I'd never lay points with Howard, but they've been better this year, and still though the 5.5 has me a little bit. I'd probably stay up. Morgan State, Maryland Eastern Shore. I like the over, and that's moved. It's already gone up 3 points. If you got that
I like
at 139.5, 140, I think you're really sitting good there. And that was it. I passed on Prairie View. Yeah, so that was it.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, you know what? We probably don't need to do Q&A because it's just the added board, and it's only a handful of games. So I'll just run through them briefly, one by one. I didn't bet all of them, but just briefly. Pass for me on Grambling State, Bethune-Cookman. I'm kind of like Conor. I kind of lean the home dog, but I didn't bet it. I am on NC Central. I love Laval. This is what Lavelle Moton's team does at this time of year. They play their best basketball late regular season, going into the conference tournament. Norfolk State's just been a little bit too erratic lately. NC Central matches up pretty well against them as well. So I took the money line at minus 140 with NC Central. I think it's gone up a little bit, but I do like NC Central there in that game against Norfolk State. I'm on Howard. I agree. I mean, South Carolina State, they've just really fallen on hard times. I think it goes over the total. It's a high total, 158, but I like Howard minus 5.5 and the over there. I'm on the over with Coppin State, Delaware State. You mentioned the over with Morgan State, Maryland Eastern Shore. I do think that's a good over in that game. Southern and Florida A&M's a pass for me. Prairie View and Jackson State, same thing. I passed on that one as well. And I'm on Texas Southern plus revenge spot. Alcorn State, in the first game, beat Texas Southern in overtime. And now you got the Texas Southern squad in revenge. Road dog. We talk about that angle all the time. It's a strong angle. I like Texas Southern there. Plus, I got +4, +3.5, still good. And I think that game goes over. It's been an over-trending series history, by the way, with Texas Southern and Alcorn State head-to-head. So I'm on TSU there, +3.5, and over the total in that game as well. There we go. That's it. All right. There you
Beautiful.
go. Good stuff. Shout out to the chat. 200 live viewers on YouTube. Hit the like button. Best bets coming up right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101 and manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with promo code PubSports. And yeah, the Pub Sports Members Club. Make sure you become one. $4.99 a month. That's all it takes. Make sure you get in, become a member. All the great incentives. If you want more giveaways, contests, prizes, Pubapalooza events like the one we'll be having in a month from now. The way to make that happen is become a members club. Member for just $4.99 a month. Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. Good stuff there. All right, best bets here to wrap up this edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Conor Mack, what do you like here for a Monday best bet?
Shout out to our guy, Ron Crawford. I'm on that as well. Montana -5. We talked about that earlier. That Bellarmine game I think goes under, but right here, Iowa State, they need it desperately. Going first half. There's a -2 out there. There's some 2.5s, but a couple 2s. Give me them early. I think they can get it done.
All right, there you go. Iowa State. He's got more faith than me in the Cyclones, Conor Mack. But, man, if there's ever a spot it feels like it's a good one to take them, it's this one. Shoot the ball. Make your shots. That's all I'm asking for.
Shoot the ball.
Make it. Not shoot it.
Yeah,
You've
make
shooting
it. Yeah.
You just can't make it. So make your damn shots, and you'll win this game if you're Iowa State. Iowa State -4.5 for Conor Mack against West Virginia for his best bet. Bruins aren't playing on here today. UCLA, JB. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about the hockey Bruins, the Boston Bruins? Oh,
Boston.
Must be talking about the Boston. Well, I certainly wouldn't bet against them, only -130, but I think Edmonton's going to play them tough in that game. So there you go. I don't have a strong feel for that side, honestly.
Bruins, man, just keep winning.
Yeah, I don't want to go. They're only -130. They've been the best team in hockey all year. It's hard to go against them when they're only -130, especially for a team that usually they're -200, -250. Bigger prices than that. All right, best bet here for me for this Monday call. Gonzaga, great job by them. Thanks to them, they got it done for me with the Pub Hub best bet on Saturday. They got the job done against St. Mary's. We'll see if we can follow that up with another best bet winner here tonight. Let me see here. This is a tough one. I mean, there's a lot I kind of like, and I don't really love anything here on this card in terms of really, really love it. Let me just see here. Can we not get Florida Gulf Coast Queens over the total? I mean, I'm a little surprised that they've been dropping that total. I'm going to make that the best bet. Florida Gulf Coast Queens over 152. It was either going to be that or Montana State +2, but I don't know if I want to make a team that hasn't lost at home, fading them my best bet. But I do really like that spot for Montana State. I will go with that, though, as the best bet. Queens and Florida Gulf Coast over 152. I think you're going to see pace. Both teams play fast. Both teams are very good offensively. I think both teams are better offensively than they are defensively. I think we'll see some points in that game. So Florida Gulf Coast and Queens Atlantic Sun Tournament first-round matchup over 152 for my best bet here for this Monday college basketball card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We're back tomorrow, and we've got more conference tournaments starting tomorrow. We've got the second round of the A-Sun. Sun Belt tournament is going to begin tomorrow. The Patriot League, the Horizon League, all of those conference tournaments going to get underway tomorrow. So it's that time of year, and we're excited about it. So join us again tomorrow. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Hubapalooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off at the South Pound 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Hubapalooza 2, baby.